kids. My name is Taryn, and I'm so excited that today I get to share the word with you. Are you ready? Are you listening? Well, this month we've been learning all about Jesus, who was teaching the people on the mountainside. And we're going to continue with that lesson. But today we're focusing a little bit about loving others. Everybody go, ooh, loving others. Today's Bible story is one of my favorites because it's all about Jesus and how he showed love to others. So you need to listen very, very carefully. Are you ready? Well, it was many years ago, and Jesus was having dinner with some of his closest friends, and they were eating together, and they were chatting, and they were spending time together, when all of a sudden, Jesus stood up, he picked up a towel, he picked up a jug of water, and he poured the water into a basin. And one by one, he started calling his disciples, calling his closest friends to him, and he started washing their feet. He washed between their toes. Now, just to give you a little bit of understanding, in those days, the people didn't have closed shoes like we do. They didn't wear socks or have tackies that kept their feet nice and clean when they were walking. No, they wore sandals and they walked on muddy streets because there were no tarred roads. Everything was just sand. So their feet were really sandy, and people would throw their dirty water out of the window into the road, and it would cause mud. And in order for them to get across the road, they'd have to walk through the mud. So the people's feet were really dusty and really dirty and muddy. But Jesus didn't mind. He went and he washed all his disciples' feet, and he cleaned their feet one by one, and he dried them off. And some of the disciples were, "Why are you doing this? You shouldn't be washing our feet. We should be washing yours." But you know what? Jesus wanted to serve his disciples. He wanted to serve his friends and show love to them. You know, he knew that he was the Son of God. He knew that he was Lord. And he even says, "Yes, I know that I'm Lord, but I want to wash your feet." And that's exactly what he did. He showed love to his disciples by doing something that was very lowly, doing something that wasn't a nice job. That's how he showed love to them. And you know, Hillsong kids, I love that Bible story because it shows Jesus as somebody who serves others. It shows Jesus as somebody who is willing to help others to do something that's not great, but a way to show care and love for them. Isn't that amazing? Well, we're going to go into our big word, and then you're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more.
1 John 4:7. Dear friends, we should love each other, 'cause love comes from God. Dear friends, we should love each other, 'cause love comes from God. Love comes from God. The person who loves has become God's child, and knows God, knows God, knows God, knows God. The person who loves has become God's child, and knows God, knows God, knows God, knows God. Dear friends, we should love each other, 'cause love comes from God. Dear friends, we should love each other, 'cause love comes from God. Love comes from God. The person who loves has become God's child, and knows God, knows God, knows God, knows God. The person who loves has become God's child, and knows God, knows God, knows God, knows God. 'Cause
Welcome back, Hillsong kids. So our big point today is Jesus teaches us to be salt and light. Can you say that with me? Jesus teaches us to be salt and light. Well, if you've got your notebooks, Hillsong kids, why don't you take some notes down so that you can maybe do a little study later on, or if I talk too fast, you can go back and you can look up some of these Bible verses I'm going to share with you today. Okay, my first point that I want to share with you is to stay salty. Taryn, what do you mean, stay salty? Well, I've got a salt shaker over here. I don't know about you, but I love to put salt on my hot chips. I love to put salt on my popcorn. I even love to put salt on pasta because it just makes things taste so much better. The salt brings the flavor out in the food. Does your mom let you put a little bit of salt on? She probably does it for you, just sprinkles a little bit of salt. Otherwise, if you put too much on, you won't be able to eat it. But a little bit of salt brings out the flavor and just makes everything taste so much better. So, not only that, in Bible times, we learn how important salt is because they didn't have fridges or freezers or places that they could put their food in to keep cold. No. So in order to make their food last longer, to stop the food from going rotten and smelly, they would cover it in salt. It's called preserving it. So they would cover the food in salt and it would last so much longer. Can you see, Hillsong kids, how important salt is? All these amazing uses for it. Our bodies need salt as well in order to function. Salt is so important. I'm going to read you a verse about what Jesus says about salt. And it's found in Matthew 5, verse 13. It says, "You are the salt of the earth. But suppose the salt loses its saltiness. How can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything." Now, Jesus is telling the people who are listening to him that they need to be like salt. They need to add flavor to the world around them. So he's not saying we need to be real pieces of salt or cover ourselves in salt, but just like salt adds flavor and salt is important and makes things better, in the same way, we as God's children need to add things to the world. We need to add to the God flavor. When we share God's love, we're like salt that keeps things from going bad. And we are like salt when we bring out God's flavor to the people around us in how we love others. Colossians, I'm going to quickly read to you from Colossians 4, verse 6. It says, "Let the words you speak always be full of grace. Season them with salt. Then you will know how to answer everyone." God is saying that let our words, season our words with salt. Let them bring flavor. Let them bring good things. Just like when you add salt to your popcorn and it tastes so much better. How about the words that we speak? May they be kind and may they lift other people up. May they add God flavor to the people that we are with. All right, that was point number 1. Number 2, let your light shine. There's a passage, in the same passage that I was reading about salt. So when Jesus was on the mountain talking to his disciples and all the hundreds of people, which we call the Sermon on the Mount, and we've been learning about, one of the things Jesus was talking about was being salt, but also being light. Be salt and be light. And he says, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill can't be hidden. People do not light a lamp and put it under a bowl. No. Instead, they put it on its stand. Then it gives light to everyone in the house." I have a question for you. Do you know what load shedding is? Probably in your house, when you hear the words, especially if you live in South Africa, and you hear the words load shedding, your mom and dad probably grumble and groan and go, "Oh no, not again." Load shedding is when they turn all the power off and everything goes dark. You have no electricity. There are no street lights. There are no lights in your house. You cannot power your TV. You cannot power anything. So everything is really, really dark. What does your mom or dad do when that happens? Can you remember? They probably light a candle or a few candles. Maybe they grab the torch. Maybe you run and grab the torch. Or maybe they've got one of these lights. We've got one of these lights at home that lights up the room. So when you turn the light on, the darkness moves to the edge of the room. The room that was pitch dark and you couldn't see anything in is now lit up by the light, and the light has pushed the darkness to the edge. Now, in the Bible that we just read in that verse, it says, nobody takes a light and hides it under a bowl. I'm going to hide it in a box. You're not going to see the light anymore. That's not the point of a light. You don't take a candle or a torch or a fancy magenta light like that and put it in a box. No. You put it somewhere where everyone can see so that it scatters the darkness and so that it brings light. God is saying to us, in the same way, we as his children, we also bring light. Isn't that awesome? You are the light. You bring light wherever you go, and you scatter the darkness. There is a verse. Also, I read it to you in Matthew 5, verse 16, where it says, you are the light. Okay, in the same way, let your light shine in front of others. So the Bible's telling us that we must let the light of Jesus that's within us shine out to other people. Then they will see the good things you do, and they will praise our Father in heaven. And one more verse I want to read is Jesus describes himself as the light. He says, I am the light of the world. And if he is the light of the world, he's saying that in us, we as his children, we are children of light. So we have the light within us. Isn't that amazing, Hillsong kids? Wherever we go, we bring light into dark places. We, as God's children, bring the light. I love it. And the light of Jesus in our life drives out the darkness, just like this torch. All right, let me see. There we go. All right, point number 3. A new command is that you must love one another. When Jesus was washing his disciples' feet, right at the end, he said to them, and this is in John 13, verse 34 to 35, after he washed their feet, he said to them, got to find it, I give you a new command, love one another. You must love one another just as I have loved you. If you love one another, everyone will know you are my disciples. Now, here we have Jesus. It was the night before he was going to go to the cross and was going to be hung on the cross. It was the night before that he washed his disciples' feet. Jesus knew what was going to happen to him, and it must have made his heart very sad. He must have been a little bit sad and a little bit scared because something terrible was going to happen to him the next day. Now, imagine if you knew you only had one day left on this earth, what would you do? I think I would go on a roller coaster. I would eat all the ice cream I could. I would eat lots of hot chips. I would eat lots of chocolate. I would go shopping. I would jump on trampolines. I would visit all the fun places. I would just go crazy. Jesus knew that he was going to die. But you know what he did? Instead of doing all the things he wanted to do, he went to his disciples, he had supper with them, and he washed their feet. He lowered himself and he washed their dirty feet. He served them. Even though he was going to die the next day, he served his disciples and he showed love to them in that way. You know what? Jesus' example of love was to serve. And Hillsong kids, our example can be to serve as well. We can serve our friends at school by helping them if maybe they're stuck with their homework. We can serve them. We can serve our mom and dad by helping wash the dishes, helping feed the cat or the dog or the budgie or the hamster or the elephant. Depending on what pet you have, you can find ways that you also can help serve. And you, just like Jesus did. So our big point today is Jesus teaches us to be salt and light. And we, Hillsong kids, can be salt and light to the people around us. We can bring flavor. We can bring light in the darkness when we follow Jesus' example and love others by serving them. So this week, I'd love to encourage you to serve the people around you. Can you do that for me? Well done. Well, I would love to pray for you. But before I do, I want to ask you a question. Maybe you're like, Taryn, I don't quite know Jesus as my best friend. I've heard about him, or, what do you mean? Well, Jesus wants to be your best friend. Jesus wants to be Lord of your life. So I want to give you an opportunity to pray a prayer with me if that's something that you want, if you want to ask Jesus to become your best friend. And we're going to pray a prayer together. So why don't you close your eyes and we're going to pray. Dear Lord Jesus, today I ask you to come into my life and be my best friend. Forgive me of all the things I have done wrong. I believe you are the Son of God and that you died on the cross for my sins. Help me to love you and live for you every day. Because of Jesus, today I am a Christian. Amen.
God, your thoughts are precious to me. There are so many. If I could count them, there would be more than all the grains of sand.
All your thoughts about me, oh God, outnumber the sand, outnumber the sand. All your thoughts about me, oh God, outnumber the sand, outnumber the sand. All your thoughts about me, oh God, outnumber the sand, outnumber the sand. All your thoughts about me, oh God, outnumber the sand, outnumber the sand. All your thoughts about me, oh God, outnumber the sand, outnumber the sand. All your thoughts about me, oh God, outnumber the sand, outnumber the sand. You know me inside out, outside in. You search my heart and all of my soul. I live for you, my God. You're guiding me home. You search my heart and all of my soul. I live for you, my God. You're guiding me home.
I pray that Christ will live in your hearts because of your faith. I pray that your life will be strong in love and be built on love. And I pray that you and all God's holy people will have the power to understand the greatness of Christ's love. I pray that you can understand how wide and how long and how high and how deep that love is. Christ Podcast.